A big show today, Cody, here on Football with Friends, as we're still kind of unpacking what happened this last weekend as far as the official visit season. Some interesting commitments to Texas, or at least one interesting commitment to Texas A&M yesterday. But we're going to start out with an update on Chase Calat, the DB, the safety out of North Shore that had I guess the number 4 safety in the nation, had his visit to Michigan this past weekend.
His visit to Michigan this past weekend, that's on the heels of Georgia. Remember, we talked about Georgia last week, who had literally just recently offered him in May. He goes down, has an official visit at Georgia. He had one at Ole Miss in April. And when he came out of Georgia last week, he said, oh, yeah, Georgia definitely has a chance. I don't think they're far behind. And that was behind Texas because Texas has been kind of the lead. So then he goes to Michigan this weekend, and it was pretty much – you didn't hear nothing, hide nor Harry, nothing on Chase Calat coming out of the weekend. And then last night there was an update from the Michigan site and had a couple of quotes from Chase Calat on his visit. He said, I really like Michigan a lot, more than I thought I was going to like it. I like the players there. They keep it real. They told me the ups and downs about being there. Everything is top of the line. My top 3, Michigan, Georgia, and Texas. You're getting top of the line everything. It really comes down to relationships. That'll be the difference. Michigan is in my top 2 then, he said in the next sentence. This Texas OV will tell me if I really like it. I liked Michigan, but I also like Texas because it's close to home, and there are a lot of pros about it and not too many cons. I have to see how this Texas OV goes. And he will be at Texas next week, and he will be committing on June 27th.
To me, Texas got to get back. Texas got to get in good graces with North Shore, right? Start getting the best North Shore kids every year. I mean,
this is the best North Shore kid.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And Calicut's good. Look, man, I think that this is probably gonna. Was he the one last week that was like Kirby Smart was like, man, we didn't think we had a shot with you or something?
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, I came out of there. I'm like, this is Kirby Smart, who's like the top dog in college football, and he's telling me he doesn't think I have a shot. He's like, of course you got a shot, dude. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I think that as far as looking at just safeties and the safety room at Texas, I don't know what Georgia has on their depth chart after having a major loss at the safety position last year, but Texas does. As far as this year, Texas, they'll certainly lose Michael Taft. And then Texas has some kind of young safeties, though, right? Zealous Hicks, Jonah Williams, Xavier Filsaime is only going to be a redshirt freshman. But besides them, is it just Jordan Johnson Rebel? And then I guess we'll see what happens with Derek Williams this year. I'm still of the mind that Derek Williams is a guy that we could people just definitely is crazy that I'm saying he could go pro after this season. I think they're forgetting how good Derek Williams was.
I don't think it's too wild, but I do think like when you look at the depth of that room, just when you say Filsaime, Hicks, Jonah Williams, like that's a pretty solid room. I know Georgia, just my knowledge of Georgia, that's just not depth. But KJ Bolden was a freshman safety that played last year. Then they had Zion Branch, the brother of Zachariah Branch, who's not as a high end of a talent as Zachariah is. That came over from USC. He's also in that safety room, and I think they have a senior this year. But I will say, Calat looked pretty good in that Michigan jersey for that context. Like I know that looks isn't everything, but
these guys look good in all these jerseys. All these jerseys look good, man.
Some guys it's like, oh gosh, he kind of looks like he belonged in that jersey. But
Dalen McCutcheon looked like he belonged to that Jackson Smith and Jigbo Ohio State jersey, and that's
the Dalen McCutcheon corollary. That's what we're gonna call that. That's Chase Calat to Texas. So he'll be there this weekend though. So he'll be in Texas on the 20th, and then he'll be committing on the 27th.
What about the Man Eye Institute? The Man Eye Institute is the presenting sponsor of Football with Friends here on Orange Bloods Live. Make sure and check them out. Man Eye Institute. See life better for all of your LASIK needs. This is where you need to go. 1-844-WOW-2020. 1-844-WOW-2020. The Football with Friends is continuing on because of the Man Eye Institute. So if you like the show, please support our presenting sponsor, the Man Eye Institute. Okay. Cody, we had yesterday. Can we talk? Can we talk about Samuel Roseboro?
Yeah.
So Samuel Roseboro, the I guess guard out of Florida,
I
Clearwater,
think
Florida.
I think there's I don't really know. I don't really know if it's I mean, there was murmur in our chat about potentially Texas looking at him like as a guard, potentially A&M looking at him as a tackle. So I'm not really he's 6'5", 285. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I think he could. I mean, his film is at tackle, if I remember correctly. Um, the and I liked it, and I thought last week that it's just kind of tough, and you wonder. Okay, well, what happened was he committed to Texas A&M yesterday, coming off of this weekend's visit to Texas. And so it has to make you wonder this, along with Felix Ojo saying that Texas is the team to beat, Zayden Crippen having all of these big things to say coming out of this weekend, and having one of these we talked about yesterday, Zayden Crippen-esque, very, 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 very exuberant quotes coming out of the official about Texas. I mean, you can't help but in your mind kind of put the pieces together a little bit here about what happened with Roseboro, with maybe Texas told him, I don't know, like what is your theory on it? My theory is like, and this is completely like, I haven't talked to the guy. This isn't anything I heard from Jason. My theory is maybe he didn't feel quite the love from Texas, and that would have led to him feeling like, okay, I just got done with that OV. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull the trigger here for Texas A&M.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. Based on the fact that he went in the same weekend as Krempen and Ojo is who he is, and they have Max Wright already committed, Nick Robertson already committed. Like, it felt right because Roseboro's mom is from Austin. Like, it feels right on paper, but also College Station is not that far from Austin. When you think about it from that perspective, he's playing high school ball in Clearwater, Florida right now. And I think potentially if he was brought in next weekend, the 20th, it could have been a different vibe. But I think, like you said, like with you going into the same weekend as Ojo, as Krempen, as Jalen Lott, as some of these guys, you're like, man, I'm not getting quite the same love here. To be honest with you, you look at some of the tackles that have fallen off as far as the OVs go for Texas, and like Aaron Thomas was scheduled to be in this last weekend, the guy from Phoenix, Arizona, Mesa, and he never made it in. He's going to be at A&M this coming weekend. Like,
does it feel like A&M is picking up steam with him?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to make it to Texas for an OV. He's going to be at A&M next weekend. Seems pretty excited about it. And it's weird. I mean, Bubble, we like both these guys. I think I like Roseboro and Aaron Thomas. I think when I look at the rankings, though, it's like where I have Roseboro, I have him as my 9th tackle. Aaron Thomas is my 7th. And you still got Ojo, Turntine, and Krempen all ranked ahead of these guys. So it's like, it's sometimes I know in theory you're like, oh, it's Texas. Texas can get whoever they want. They get as many guys as they want. The idea of like 6 or 7 offensive linemen is floated out there and stuff. But it's like if you can get a 5-man class of Wright, Robertson, Krempen, Turntine, and Ojo, that's a good 5-man class. You don't really need to worry about like, oh, we can get Roseboro too, and we get Thomas, and we can get the McCoe kid. And it's like, okay, and we'll also like, I think these kids probably are looking like, well, Texas A&M doesn't have a single offensive lineman committed right now. Roseboro was the first.
Is that right?
Roseboro was the first.
Huh.
So you're like, all right, I can go over here and I'm going to be the first guy committed to this school on the offensive line, or I can go over there where they have 2 already, and they just had the big dog in who they're probably going to get. And this other kid in Krempen.
What do you mean the big dog?
Ojo.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Right. So like that's like I'm looking at it from like Roseboro's perspective. He's probably like, all right, you got a couple of big dogs in Ojo and Krempen in there this weekend. You already got 2 committed players, and I'm not getting the love. But if I go to A&M, they're giving me the love and they're telling me I can play tackle. You know, that's the dynamic that I read through all of it, was that potentially.
I think you and I read it the same way.
Huh?
You and I read it the same way. I figured that Texas would have put a little bit more of a hard press on him this weekend. I mean, he was the one I said, like, You talked about guys who could possibly commit, or guy. I think it was your thing on Final Takes is 9.5 of these guys end up as part of the class, and I
Yep.
was the one of the ones that I said could be one that I thought could pop off soon afterward would have been Roseboro, but it turns out that he ends up popping for a different school. So I was right about a little bit of that stuff. I'm always right about specs. I always know that if I go to specs, they're gonna have the best selection and the best prices.
Kick off summer with Specs Made in America sale. We've got star-spangled savings on all your American-made favorites. All month long at Specs. Cheers to savings.
That bottle rocket popsicle been mixed up with that Deep Eddy vodka.
Dangerous.
That sure looked like a maniacal concoction there. Don't drink too many of those by the pool, dude. You get a bet. Wake up with some kind of headache. Thanks so much to Specs. Thanks so much to the Man Eye Institute, of course, is the presenting sponsor. But of course, we also have another great sponsor in Texas Beef Traders, right there in Lakeway, 620 and Lowman's Crossing. Get 10% off at Texas Beef Traders. Their beef has no vaccines, no antibiotics, no weird shots, no cockamamie, anything. Just bovine nutritionists there on staff. The meat's processed weekly. It comes locally. 75% of the beef that you get at the grocery store doesn't even come from America. And who knows what they're shooting those cows up with. In these random countries. Support local farmers, support local ranches. Go to Texas Beef Traders, get the best tasting beef that you've ever had in your life, and get some interesting, cool cuts. I had one last night called a bavette, which is kind of like a fajita. It's like a sort of like a outside skirt, but a little bit more kind of beefy and tender. Yeah, just so delicious. It would make great fajitas. Check them out. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com, and of course, also thanks to Poncho Outdoors, our great clothing sponsor.
Hey, they got a brand new couple of hoodies that came out this week. I'm sunset, seagrass, and salty teal, 3 new colors.
Yeah,
I got all those. I got every one of the sweaters. So I'm probably sweatshirts. Sorry. So I'm probably going to get one of those lightweights.
Yeah, the seagrass looks awesome. I'm still kind of teetering about the sunset, whether it looks a little too pink.
No. I think okay. People that don't know, your eyes are a little bit off sometimes.
What?
Your eyes?
Oh yeah, I'm totally colorblind.
It's more orange than it is pink.
Okay, well, fair enough. And you know what? Pink is kind of cool with the kids now. Like my son's favorite. Like my son loves wearing those pink fishing. Like he wears these pink fishing shirts. He loves pink, so I think it's kind of popular right now. All right. OU is popular right now with Peyton Houston.
Any news popular? Well, Peyton Houston was up at Oklahoma again. He went to their camp this last week, and they seem to be very positive about Peyton Houston. They said, this is from OU Insider. They claimed that when I think it was June 15th, when midnight arrived, when they could start talking to 2027 kids, they said Oklahoma pushed the send the house button on Houston. Every member of the OU staff reached out to the blue chip signal caller. Texas and Notre Dame were amongst other programs that hit him up shortly after midnight within the first 24 hours. Everything, though, over on OU Insider, like they think that they are kind of the cream of the crop when it comes to this Peyton Houston conversation in 2027. Texas has offered Kavion Bryant. They've offered Brady Edmonds, who's committed to Ohio State. They've offered Peyton Houston, obviously this conversation. And then the other name that's kind of come up a lot has been Gunnar Rivers, even though there's no official offer on the table.
Texas just needs to go after Gunnar, dude.
Just let Peyton Houston go to Oklahoma and be the
dude. He's gonna end up there. He's gonna end up there. Look, the one thing that could throw it off. The one thing that can throw it off is if what happens. What I think is going to happen is if they get off to a hot start. Mateer is talked about like a Heisman Trophy kind of candidate, and then they get to Texas, and then they get to the meat of their schedule. Their early schedule is easy. So they're going to start off hot. They're going to have it rolling. But if they lose, whatever, was it the last 6-game stretch that's so hard, or the 7-game stretch? I think it's a 7-game stretch.
Yeah, and
starting at Texas, and none of those. There's not a single one that you can chalk up, say, "Yep, that's a win." I mean, you could say that you could say to all of them, you could say to all of them that those could be wins. I mean, if they get hot, they get rolling. If Arbuckle really has them like the old Oklahoma that we used to worry about with good offenses that were potent, they could from week to week they could hurt any team, right? That could happen. Did you listen to what Mateer said or what McShay said about Mateer yet? I haven't listened to that show yet.
I've gotten about halfway through it. I haven't finished it yet. So,
Okay.
But he's talking. I mean, there's a lot of. I watched Mateer last week too, so I've got opinions on him. I think there's a lot of upside there. I think Mateer could be right now, Alex. He's my quarterback 3,
but Arch isn't in there, right?
No.
So you have Sellers,
Klubnik, Mateer, Levitt from Arizona State.
Okay, and then Nuss at 5.
Nuss, and then Aller, however the hell you want to say it.
Okay,
but
it'll be interesting to see how that changes through the.
I think it will too. I mean, there's a lot of volatility between. There's a lot of volatility for my grades between 2 and Klubnik. He's a 6.35 down to Aller, and Carson Beck even is a 6.20. Beck and Aller I don't think are that far apart, but nonetheless, quarterbacks. The one last thing you brought it up exactly.
But let me just say, like Houston reminds me of like Mateer, Kyler, Baker. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that he can kind of. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to run like Kyler or something, but just like the pocket mobility, and just he's a little bit of a slider guy, but with a big arm, good launch angle. I think that he's a. Or not launch angle. What do I mean? Release point. I can just I can see how he likes Oklahoma. I can see how he likes Oklahoma. I'm just wondering if Venables were to get fired, that would probably blow everything up because that would mean Arbuckle would be fired too, or
maybe Arbuckle gets the job. I don't know if they can get a kid like Houston in there. Maybe that's an incentive to potentially keep that quarterback recruit, but. You kind of walked right into the last comment that OU Insider had in their write-up, which was, they've talked about the consistency of the recruiting race for Houston going into the spring and then since the spring, both with Oklahoma leading. But they said, obviously, the constant is Oklahoma at the top. I maintain that if the Sooners kick off 2025 season,
who is saying this?
Hot and start 5-1 or 6-0, Houston is in the fold by October, aka he commits by October. Where things get dicey is if OU scuffles again.
Who said this?
I think that one was Parker Thune.
Parker Thune
from OU Insider,
and he's like a Rivals National guy, right?
Yep.
So okay, all right. Well, we'll see what happens with Peyton Houston. Certainly, the 2027 quarterback recruiting is going to be coming more and more into focus here as we start to figure out exactly what's going on with 2026. But the fact of the matter is, right now we're still trying to figure exactly what the plan is and what the framework's going to be for the 2026 class.
There it is.
All right. Thanks so much to the Man Eye Institute for bringing you football with friends. Thanks so much to our other great sponsors, Poncho Outdoors, Specs, and Texas Beef Traders. Thank you guys for watching. If you could please like the show, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend about the show, and just come back and see us, man. Every night here, 6 p.m. Football with Friends. Alex Dunlap, Cody Carpentier on Orange Bloods Live. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.